I know how horrible that feeling of debt can be. You never seem to save up enough for things that you want or need, and you just keep racking up your debt bills. It feels like a never-ending cycle, but that couldn't be further from the truth. You see, the truth is that it's actually very simple to get out of debt if you do it correctly, and I'll break down how step by step in this video. Let's get started. Step 1. Understand your debt. Start by listing all your debts. Yes, every single one. This includes credit card debt, student loans, car loans, mortgages, medical bills, personal loans, you name it. Don't forget to write down the interest rates and the minimum payments for each. This information will be super helpful later when we talk about how to pay off your debt. To make this easier, here's a quick example of what your chart might look like. It's normal to feel a little overwhelmed when you see everything laid out, but don't worry. This is just the first step, and it's super important to know where you stand before we move on to the next steps. Step 2. Create a budget. Creating a budget might sound intimidating and boring, but it's actually one of the simplest ways to take control of your finances and make sure you're on the right track. A popular and easy to understand method is the 50-30-20 rule. Here's how it works. You spend 50% of your salary on needs. This includes all the essentials you can't do without, like rent or mortgage payments, utilities, groceries, transportation, and insurance. You spend 30% on wants. This is for things like eating out, entertainment, shopping, or other non-essentials. These are expenses you can cut back on if you need to. And then you keep 20% aside for debt repayment, savings, and investments. To create your budget, start by listing your income sources, like your salary, side gigs, or any other way you earn money. Then break down your expenses into the 3 categories I mentioned. Here's a quick example of what it might look like. If you add everything up and find that you're spending more than you earn, don't panic. This is a chance to see where you can cut back on the wants or find other ways to boost your income. The goal is to have a budget that makes sense with your priorities and lets you pay off your debt while still covering your essential expenses. With your budget in place, let's talk about ways to trim the fat and free up more cash for debt repayment. Step 3. Cut unnecessary expenses. If you want to get out of debt quickly, you need to cut out the expenses you don't really need. Start by going through your budget and figuring out where you're spending more than you need to. This could be things like subscription services you forgot you had, pricey gym memberships, eating out all the time, or impulse buying. Once you see where your money is going, you can start to make changes. One simple trick is to negotiate your bills. Many people don't know you can actually call your internet, cable, or insurance companies and ask for a lower rate. Sometimes it's just that easy to get a discount. Another way to save is to do some things yourself. Instead of hiring someone to wash your car, mow your lawn, or do minor repairs, try doing it on your own. It can save you a surprising amount of money. These are just a few ideas to get you started. The goal is to cut out what you don't really need without feeling like you're giving up too much. The more you can trim from your expenses, the more cash you'll have to pay off your debt. Step 4. Make more money. Cutting back on expenses is a great start, but if you really want to speed up your journey to being debt-free, increasing your income is the way to go. The more money you have coming in, the more you can throw at your debt. And one of the simplest things you can do is simply ask for a raise at your workplace. It might feel awkward, but it's absolutely worth asking. Just make a list of all the reasons why you deserve a raise and be confident in asking for one. I'd also recommend investing in skills, courses, and certifications that give more of a reason for you to get a raise. You can also learn new skills and start side hustles like being a freelance writer, babysitting, delivering food, selling handmade crafts online, and so on. Find something that fits your schedule and skills and give it a try. And let's not forget that you can sell items you don't use and rent out a spare room or your car for some extra money. Now that you've found some extra cash, it's time to talk about debt repayment strategies. Let's find the best approach to pay off your debt. Step 5. Choose a debt repayment strategy. There are 2 main strategies to consider: the debt snowball and the debt avalanche. The debt snowball strategy is all about building momentum. You start with your smallest debt and focus on paying it off as quickly as possible while keeping up with the minimum payments on everything else. Once you've cleared that first debt, you move on to the next smallest, then the next. As you pay off each debt, the amount you are paying toward it gets added to the payments for the next one. It creates a snowball effect, which is why it's called the debt snowball. The debt avalanche strategy is more about minimizing the cost of interest. Instead of focusing on the smallest debt, you start with the one that has the highest interest rate. By paying off the most expensive debt first, You save money on interest over time. Once that debt is gone, you move on to the next highest interest debt and so on. So, which strategy should you choose? If you need quick wins to stay motivated, go with the debt snowball. If you're okay with a longer wait for that first win, but want to save money in the process, the debt avalanche might be a better fit. Either way, the key is to stick with your plan and stay consistent. Step 6. Build an emergency fund. If you're working on paying off debt, you might want to throw every extra dollar at it. But life has a way of surprising us with unexpected expenses, like car repairs or sudden doctor visits. If you don't have some emergency savings, you might end up back in debt. That's why an emergency fund is so important. It's a small amount of money you set aside for these unexpected costs. A good starting point is $500 to $1,000, enough to cover minor emergencies. Later, you can aim for a bigger fund, like enough to cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses in case of a bigger crisis like losing your job. It's a good idea to save for this fund while you're paying off debt. It might seem tough, but it's better to have some cash ready for emergencies than to rely on credit cards or loans when something goes wrong. Keep your emergency fund in a separate account so you're not tempted to use it for everyday things. Remember, it's there for when you really need it, not for splurges. Stick to these steps and I promise you'll be out of debt before you know it. I hope you found this video helpful. If so, I'd really appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this.